Hi everybody, today we are going to be making tortilla chips out of tortilla shells. So I'm just going to use some of these flour tortillas and I'm going to cut them into chip shape by using a pizza cutter, and it's going to go on a baking sheet and it's going to go in the oven, and it's going to cook at 300 for about 15 minutes. You just have to check it to make sure that it's golden brown. First one that we're going to make is just with some salt. Just making some simple tortilla chips. And then the next one that we're going to make, we're going to be a little more creative and we're going to use some cinnamon and sugar. So this will be like your dessert chip. So let's get started. I have my cutting board here and I'll just do 2 at a time. I don't need to do too many. I'll do 3. Okay, and then I have my pizza cutter. You can cut them into any shape you want. If you want it to do little strips, you could do strips, but I like the traditional chip shape. Milk. Thank you. Yes, sweetie. Okay. Okay, so we have our shells cut, and the next thing we need to do is get our baking sheet. And on your baking sheet, you want to give it a good spray. I'm just going to use some canola oil. If you want to you could easily sprinkle some olive oil on there and spread it out. You just want the bottom coated. And I want both sides of my chips to taste good, so I'm actually going to salt the tray. And you can use regular salt. It does not have to be that kind of salt. And you're just going to lay your chips out. And I just kind of alternate it just to save room on the pan. I thought that felt like 2. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to give it another spray. And again, you could use olive oil on the top if you want to, totally up to you. And I'm just going to go ahead and coat it with some salt. Okay, and if you want to be real creative here, you could also sprinkle some like garlic powder on it, or some onion powder on it, or even some taco seasoning. Or if you want to get real crazy, you could put like some ranch seasoning on it, that dry ranch seasoning that you make a dip out of. But that would be really good too. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick it in the oven. And my timer will be set for 15 minutes. So I'll check on those then. This time I'm just going to grab 2 shells. And I'm just going to cut them. You know what? I'm going to cut them into strips for this, because this is going to be our dessert. So we're going to have some cinnamon sugar tortilla shells. Okay, let's see. Make little chips so you have bite-sized pieces. Okay, that could be kind of fun. Alright, so I'm going to bring my other pan in. And what I need to do now is I need to make my cinnamon and sugar mixture. So the best way to do that is 1/3 cinnamon and 2/3 sugar. Okay, so I have my bowl. And I'm going to do a tablespoon of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of sugar. This is just ground cinnamon. That can't open. Okay. Okay, so I have a nice tablespoon of cinnamon. Get my sugar open. And then I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of sugar. There's 1. And there's 2. Okay, and I'm just going to give that a little stir. Make sure that's nice and mixed. Okay, I'm going to set that to the side. Now I'm going to spray my pan. And I'm going to give it a little coat of cinnamon and sugar. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my pieces on. Okay, so once I get that all ready, I'm going to go ahead and give that another coat of my oil. And if you just have a spoon, that's fine for this, and you can just sprinkle like so. Or if you have one of the handy dandy little sprinklers, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. This little canister here, these work really well. You can just sprinkle away, get everything nice and even. You want this side to be totally coated. Now these are going to be harder to tell if they're done because they already have some brown from the cinnamon on them. But you should be able to tell just by taking a fork and kind of crunching one of them. If it's still soft, it's not done yet. But if it crunches pretty easily, then it's done. So again, I'm just going to stick this one in the oven for 15 minutes at 300. And I'll come back to you when it's done. Okay, so I checked on my tortilla chips at 15 minutes and they were not finished yet. So I put them back in for another 5, so it was a total of 20 minutes and they are ready to come out. So I'll show you what they look like when they come out. So they are hot and you can see that they are pretty firm. You can hear it crunch when you bend it. That's how you know that it's done. If it just totally folds in half, it folds over on itself, then it's not done and it needs to cook for a little bit longer. But what I will do is I'll just let them sit until they cool off a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and use them to dip some pico or salsa or whatever it is that I have. The cinnamon and sugar ones are still in because I put them in a little bit later, so those two will go about a full length of 20 minutes. And then those will be ready to come out. But my house smells great because it smells like cinnamon and sugar. All right, I'll come back when I'm ready to pull out the cinnamon and sugar tortilla strips. So my cinnamon and sugar tortilla strips are done. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven off and pull those out. Oh, I wish you could smell it. It smells wonderful. So same thing, if you can pick up a piece and you hear it crunch, ooh, it's hot, hot, hot. When it crunches like that and when it breaks off, you know that it's done. It looks really brown, but that's just the cinnamon and sugar. And same thing, I'm gonna let this sit, and then once it cools off, I'm gonna put it in a bowl and I'll put it on a table. If you wanted to, you could put some whipped cream on it, or if you had a bowl of vanilla ice cream, you could put some of these crumbled up over the top. It's really, really good. And I've got my salted tortilla chips here ready to go too. All right, I hope you enjoy. Thank you.